For the best liberty-oriented talk 24/7, visit LRN.FM.
Okay. We'll pass the stuff in the usual way and meet back here tonight.
In 1971, they said, counterfeiting for the government is unlimited. You can create as much money as you want, but they have to be able to do it in secret. They had already invented this notion of the central bank called the Federal Reserve System. It had been around since 1913. It had already debased the currency a good bit, but they wanted to further debase the currency, but they wanted total secrecy, and they've had total secrecy. And what they do is not even allowed to be known by the Congress. And this is one of the reasons for many decades I have been struggling to at least find out what the Federal Reserve is doing, since they get to print all the money. Who are they giving the money to? And during the crisis of 2008, we found out that the Federal Reserve, with their counterfeit machine, they were able to create $15 trillion. And they wanted it to be in total secrecy. When the Congress was called into helping out, they appropriated $1 trillion, which is a lot of money. But just think of it, the Federal Reserve is much bigger and much more powerful than even the whole Congress in their ability to create money and spend money. But guess what? The people who did get bailed out were the people who were most undeserving. They were the very wealthy banks and very wealthy corporations, and they had a lot of bad debt on the books. So what did the Fed do and what does the Congress do? They went and bought these bad debts and dumped them on the American taxpayer. This is one of the reasons why we haven't gotten out of the recession and conditions are actually deteriorating, because they haven't admitted some of the absolute necessities, and that is that when you have a lot of debt, you have to do something about it. You have to either quit spending and pay off your debt, or you have to liquidate the debt and change our course. And so far, they have not done this. Now, I see this as a consequence not only of a monetary issue, but a bigger issue. To me, the biggest issue is that of understanding what individual liberty is. And that's what our country was all about. The whole notion that we had a country that was dedicated to civil liberties, personal liberties, and limited government, and free markets, and sound money. And over the last 100 years or so, we as a country and as a people have lost our confidence in that. We have made the assumption that people aren't smart enough and they won't work hard enough, and therefore the government has to take care of everybody. And when the country was very prosperous, it seemed to work pretty well, redistributing wealth, and everybody felt good about it. But what they forgot about is that if you ignore the issue of liberty, production goes down, and you get yourself into a mess, and that's where we are today. So what my goal is in my political life, in my economic life, of course, is to restore the confidence in the free market, talk about sound money and personal liberty. Now, what do we need to do if that's going to happen? I think the most important thing we do, that we need, is a change in attitude about what we want from our government. The founders didn't like the government of the British government, and they had a revolution, and they wrote a document. And the document was pretty good, far from perfect, but it was pretty good.
Hey, sir, you're getting very close to me. I don't like that.
Yeah, good. Give me your license, registration, insurance card.
Am I under arrest?
Did I say that?
No. Am I legally required to do that?
Yeah, if I ask you for it.
And it was written not to regulate your lives, and not to regulate the economy, and not to tell the people of the world what to do. The Constitution was written to bring together the colonies in a loose-knit group, but the main purpose of the Constitution was to restrict the federal government, but not to restrict the people. Believe me, governments at all levels are restricting the people, and they're providing secrecy for the government, not only at the Federal Reserve level, but throughout the government. The government believes that they don't have to tell us exactly what they're doing. At the same time, when you think about what's happened in this last decade, your personal liberties and personal privacies have been viciously violated.
Stand by. Stand by.
We have a foreign policy that is deeply flawed. About the same time that we introduced the notion to this country of a central bank in 1913, we had the introduction of the Federal Reserve Act, created the Federal Reserve. And the truth is not only do I want to audit the Federal Reserve, I'd like to get rid of it someday as well. But in that same year, the people said we want more government, and we want the government to take care of us, but we'll have to have an income tax. I wasn't around then, but I would have objected, and I've been objecting ever since I've been in politics. If you had the right size government, if you had the release of creative energy to all individuals and restrain the federal government and allow the states to deal with the problems, we wouldn't even need an income tax. And I think that would be a real incentive for economic growth. Another big thing happened in 1913 with Wilson's administration. That was the first war where we really embarked on an idealistic war, and at that time it was to make the world safe for democracy. It didn't say well, we're defending it's defending our homeland or defending our rights. No, it was to make the world safe for democracy. And things haven't gone well. It didn't go well in the 20th century. There was a lot of wars, a lot of killing. But something else happened. And since World War II, this idea that we should be doing so much overseas and telling other people what to do, just as the government tells us what to do personally and tells everybody what to do with their money, now we have embarked on this notion that we as a nation are so exceptional that we have an obligation to tell the people of the world what to do. Yes, there are a lot of problems overseas, but I don't believe we have the right or the authority to tell other people what to do. We ought to be dealing with our problems here at home and improving our own results.
LRN.FM, 24 hours of Liberty Radio every day. Now available on satellite too, at sat.lrn.fm. That's what a satellite sounds like. Put it on your unlicensed station. Wear it in your hair. But above all, don't despair. The Liberty message is getting out. And right now, you're missing it. Or maybe you're not. But skip on over to LRN.FM. Feds don't want you to hear them.